Money doesn't just come from one place. It drips, trickles, flows, and floods into our lives in different ways. Welcome to Drip Trickle Flow Flood, a podcast that explores the power of multiple income streams. We've got merch. That's right. Drip Trickle Flow Flood t-shirts are officially here, and they're as comfy as they are conversation starting. Grab yours at the link in our show notes. Hey, Tony, how's it going?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I was just sharing my neighbor is doing some crazy loud yard work. I don't think we can hear it on
No,
here,
I
but
can't hear it filtering through. It's
sounds
that
like
time.
they're
It's that time of year.
sounds like they're digging up their house.
Oh,
It's so loud.
I don't have anything like that planned, but I am gonna stick my daughter on the lawnmower here soon.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait, does she do the like a riding mower?
Yeah. So we have a lot of lawn that we mow.
Yeah.
Realistically, stupid amount. It probably would have been smart to put the fence close to our house, then the cows would be eating that grass instead of us mowing it. But I like having a big yard to go do all the things in. But yeah, we mow a lot of grass. She mows and weed eats, and we pay her whatever her hourly rate is, whatever age she is. And so
Oh,
each year she gets a
cute.
raise. So
That's cute.
yeah.
Well, good for Harper out there mowing,
Yeah,
doing
she's
her
been mowing,
chores.
and the electric weed eater was one of the best things. She's been weed eating for a long time because it was light and, not really that dangerous. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, it's been cool.
Well, I share her love of lawn mowing. I actually we just do a push mower here, but we don't have a lot of the grass cleared. And I love it. I love mowing the lawn. It's like it's such a like relaxing meditative activity. I feel the same about dishes.
Man, well, if you want to swing by and do some dishes,
No.
I can tell you that's not a super popular thing in our house.
Gary has told me so many times, he's like, let's start a landscaping business because he knows like I love my I just call it mow. I love my mow. And I'm like, no, it's not fun when you turn it into a business and have
Yeah.
to like please other people and go do their lawns. It's only fun when I can do my own.
And I don't mind mowing. I still end up doing a fair amount of it, and you put on the earbuds and listen to something. But mowing and maintenance and weeding and definitely has been work for me in the past. So I can't say it's something that I go out of my way to do extra of.
Well, to completely change the topic, this week's episode is not about mowing. It is about scamming. So we're taking a totally different direction here. This idea came from you, Tony, because you were listening to a Freakonomics episode on this. But I like this one. I think this is a good one to dig into.
Yeah, Freakonomics, not the Drip Trickle Flow Flood isn't my favorite podcast, but I adore Freakonomics. It is such a well done podcast, and so I listen to every episode, and yeah, this one was on scamming, and the way that it spurred the host, he had someone trying to, let's see, he must have been, they were trying to sell him or give him their piano or something. And this was like a long scam. And I'm learning that this is, there's the short scams out there, click here, whatever. But a lot of these long scams where people send a message, it might even be like, oh, sorry, wrong number. And then they strike up a conversation. And next thing you know, they're telling you about their cousin who has this insider knowledge of a cryptocurrency that they're going to be, investing in. And I mean, these can go on for weeks and months before, building the trust, building the relationship, and then eventually getting people to, and sometimes people will put in just a little bit of money at the start and a little bit of money at the start. And it's gotten very, very elaborate. And I've, obviously I know there's scams out there. There's people doing this stuff, but it's an entire industry of of scamming that's going on, and it's wild.
I'll say this is like a bit depressing, or at least I thought it was. But when my uncle passed away, we were helping my aunt to sort of close out his life and take care of some affairs and things. And she received so many scam calls at that period. We were pretty floored at the volume of it and how they must just be hunting, the obituaries and then going after folks because think about that. You're in a vulnerable state, right? You've just lost someone. And I think they're also going after folks who are a bit older and using scams that are usually technology based, just assuming that probably they wouldn't have knowledge around it, which I think is a good point for us to make on this podcast is like financial literacy is the biggest thing here so that you can tell the difference between what's true and what's not. But using things like your computer has a virus or like there's suspicious activity that's been detected. There's a lot of IRS scam calls and often when you hear IRS, it can feel a bit scary, right? And it's like, oh, it's the IRS. But there are so many people cosplaying as the IRS. It's wild. So those are definite red flags to like be careful of is when someone in your life passes away to be or if you have someone in your life who's passed away, just be mindful and like mindful of family members or friends who might be going through that and pass that message along that they may be getting some scam calls or emails.
Well, and what they were saying is the amount of information that these people have about you. Don't assume
Yeah.
they don't know your social security number. Don't assume they don't know your address. They have all this stuff. And, maybe not for everybody, but the amount of information that people, come equipped with is staggering. I just had one where I got a voicemail and they said my the credit card on file with my QuickBooks had expired. And so it wasn't gonna renew. That's an extremely believable scenario for me that I hadn't gone on and updated my credit card. And so, but what I didn't do was call the number back. I went, logged into my QuickBooks, checked to see where my subscription was at, and my subscription isn't due till October. And so it was a total random, out of the blue. And, it would have been not a good situation had I said, oh, yeah, here's my credit card number, run it on through. And, fortunately, my phone did say suspected spam caller, I think, when it came through.
Mhm.
And then they left the message. And I listened to the message and then got back. One thing that was also interesting in the episode is so there are forget exactly which country. You can go listen to the Freakonomics episode, but there's these countries that like there isn't really much rule. There aren't many rules about this. It is a full on industry generating, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars stealing money. And these are smart people. They're sophisticated. They're running it like business. And now AI is becoming a huge tool for them. And so now you can get a call and, if your brother Jim is calling you, it might sound like Jim
Mhm.
and it's, and videos. And so it's really important to just like go to the source, go to the source, go to the source. And, now often people will say, we'll never call you and ask for money. We'll never, these
Mhm.
banks and institutions are giving that warning that we wouldn't do these. The IRS isn't going to call you up and ask for money, right? They're going to send you, they're still on the snail mail program, right?
Oh,
So
they are.
yeah. So
You're
I
gonna
mean,
get a letter, an official letter.
you get,
There was a very terrifying scam going on when I lived in Los Angeles. It happened to a friend of mine. Her mother got a call, and it was these people who said, "We have your daughter. We've kidnapped her, and we'll give her back. But what you need to do right now is you need to get in the car and drive straight to the ATM and pull out this money. And they gave her like an amount. And then they said, and you are to leave it here, like gave her a place. And they said, and we will see you. We're going to be following you. Like we know we'll watch you while you're in the car. And so she was terrified and completely believed, because they were like, don't you even think about like calling the cops. Don't think about that. And so she luckily was going to do it because she was just like so scared for her daughter, but fortunately was passing a police station on the way there and just like pulled right into the station and like ran in and told them. And then it turns out, obviously her daughter was like, okay, like they called her right away and she was like, no, I'm at the gym, like I'm completely fine. But I mean, how terrifying would that be when they're like, "We're watching you right now. If you take this phone and you try to call your daughter, right, we know you're doing it." And you get the right person, or I guess the wrong person, on the phone who like would believe that. And I think I think that's pretty believable. That's scary.
Yeah, that's
So
terrifying.
so luckily after it happened to her, she went and like talked to a bunch of reporters, and then it got out in the news. And so I think it really slowed the spread of that because it was happening so often that then when it would happen to them, they were like, I just read about this in the news. It's got to be a scam. But yes, it's like there's some terrifying things. And like you said, these are not just people that are messing around and don't have any experience. These are like highly skilled scammers who can pull these things off. So it's definitely important, I think, both from like a financial literacy space of making sure that you're looking in and staying on top of these things. I think the other piece of this, though, and I've known a few people in my life who have gone through this and said like a big piece for them was the shame that they felt,
Mhm.
which then stopped them from wanting to have conversations about it that would maybe have like stopped it earlier. And it's interesting because years ago, I was doing a film project on cults. And one of the things I was working with this cult, she was like a cult psychologist. Like that was her whole body of work was around working with people who had exited cults. And one thing that she said was, most people assume that you go into these cults and you're brainwashed and you're making all of these decisions because you completely don't know any better. You're completely brainwashed by them. She said, actually, the truth is a lot of people who are in those situations know quite early on that they're in a bad situation. They're actually completely active and aware of it. But the shame of having to admit to the people in their life that they got sucked into this keeps them in it for longer because they would rather just stay in it and be in the bad thing than to have to leave and admit I was wrong. And so it's very interesting because I think that shame piece comes up so much here too. Let's say that you did click on something, you did give money somewhere, like so, something did happen and this happened to you, and you have that like pinging in your gut that something's off, but you're like, "Oh, but I don't wanna say anything because somebody might think I'm stupid," or like, I don't wanna talk about this because, like, you're feeling such shame inside, and that stops people from having important money conversations, not just about scams, but anything, and then can make you more susceptible to one of these scams.
Yeah, another thing that they were talking about is sometimes that so the frequency of them preying on, I'm gonna say the naive, and often that's technology based with older folks and that sort of thing. Or maybe it is a lack of, financial knowledge or something like that, was the more frequent ones, but the bigger numbers actually came from people that felt like they were financially savvy. And probably the bigger numbers because maybe they are financially savvy and they had more money to lose,
Sure.
but they are they are really, really good at what they do. And, if maybe it's that crypto carrot or whatever carrot out there that this is such a good thing and that level of trust gets earned, or someone's trying to hit a home run with their investment. And my takeaway from all of this is, do business with people that you know, and that means, yes, physically people but also like the bank, the credit card, the thing that you actually went and signed up for. Go back to the place that you signed up for, go to the place you log into, and go deal with it there.
Mhm.
Call the number that's on that website after you've logged in. All of those things. Don't click on the random email. Don't, respond to the random text or, all the things. And if it turns out to be a real thing, everybody now is so used to all these spam calls, all these scams, all this stuff. It's okay to say, yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to offend you, but I'm just a little paranoid about it. And they're going to be like, oh, yeah, me too. Thanks for double checking.
Mhm.
It's out there, it's consistent, and these people are making tons and tons of money. And the more money they have and the more it works, and the more they're utilizing technology, the worse it's going to get. I will say that one of the more positive things that came out of the episode is more countries are now going after and prosecuting these individuals, where it used to be really hard for people in another country to get punished for any of this stuff. And there are now organizations, countries are getting behind it where they're punishing these people. And so there are some repercussions for committing these crimes, which is good. Hopefully it'll stem it.
Mhm.
I know they've taken down some very large companies essentially that were operating, but that doesn't mean new ones won't sprout up. There won't be individual actors, the the con artist, the scammer has been going on since the dawn of time. So probably not going away, but it is nice
No.
that there is more awareness about it and that there is some punishment getting doled out to these people they ruin lives. There's just no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm glad to hear that there is some litigation happening now in some of the countries where this is so prevalent. So that is a positive. And also just dialing back to that shame piece, because that is an interesting statistic, right? That lots of folks who get raveled up in these are like, well, I considered myself pretty financially literate, right? So I think again, that's a great point is like that also doesn't mean that you're not financially literate or that you've done something dumb or that you need to feel shame if like this has happened to you. It's just like consciously becoming more and more aware and just saying, yeah, I have some more to learn, but there's doesn't need to be shame in what happened because these people are good. And oftentimes they're not even using money as the stimulation here. They're often using like emotional
Mhm.
manipulation, right? So that's how they're able to get so far. As Tony said earlier, they're taking their time to build trust. So, and that could be like a romance scam. It could be a deployment scam, it can be a travel scam, it can be a medical emergency. There's so many different things that they can come up with and use. So keep that in mind that it's not always about like, oh, I would never get in a crypto scam, right? That's just one. There are lots of other angles that these folks use. So I think just a healthy dose of skepticism always
Yeah.
is good. And even when it comes to like these emotional things, and like you said, Tony, if you get a phone call, you're like, I'm gonna, hang up and call you back. Or you could say to the person, I'm sorry, this isn't ringing right to me. I'm gonna give my daughter a call or give somebody else a call. Or don't even say that, just hang up and do it. I think also like anytime you have these things, giving someone a call, a family, friend, whatever, anyone in your life, it doesn't have to necessarily be family. But just giving someone a call and say, "Hey, this situation happened to me and I was curious about it. It seemed a little odd, but also seemed like it could be fine." And then it can be good to take in those outside voices as well, because you may just stumble upon someone that says, oh, that's a scam that happened to me too, or I almost got that. So the more that we're sharing and having open conversations, even around scamming is positive.
I always something that I try to tell all junior high kids when I'm on runs with them is, if you go and you're in, well, I guess really anywhere, but someone's selling bottled water, often it's out of a cooler. Someone will say, "Oh, $1 for a bottle of water." And you're like, "Oh, that's, way cheaper than that store right there." And what they'll do is they hand you the bottle of water and they twist off the top as they're handing it, like they're being nice, opening it from you. But really, those are, water bottles that they took out of the garbage can, filled in their hose. And so I always tell all the kids, I'm like, if you don't get that bottle of water and hear that crack,
Oh,
that bottle of water. And that's obviously on a much smaller scale, but you can take a drink from that water bottle and get something that stays with you for the rest of your life. So, things like that, just being aware,
mhm.
is just such an important thing. And again, like you say, that having the conversations about it, because again, it's happening to everybody. We talk about this a lot about money concerns, but
Mhm.
everybody's getting the calls, everybody's getting the emails, everybody's getting hit up. And, if they make 10,000 calls or send 10,000 emails and they get one person, it's worth it for 'em.
Yeah,
And
right.
so don't think that they're not going to reach out to you. Don't think that it can't happen to you. None of us are above it. These people are smart, savvy, and their strategies keep evolving.
Yeah. Yes. And like you said earlier, AI does play a big they're doing it's not the old robocalls anymore
Right.
where those are generally pretty easy to tell. Now there's a lot more sophistication in it. So we just have to be a little bit more diligent, and anything that kind of seems off, that's when we question it. We go talk to somebody, all these things. I'm sure at some point it feels like now with AI so prevalent, at some point there's probably going to be like maybe like a nonprofit or something. I could almost imagine there are like these hotlines you'll end up being able to call to like run something by, because it
Oh,
feels like it's going to become harder and harder to discern,
mhm.
what is a scam and not. And so I imagine that's probably already in the works, where there will be resources, right, that people can check into, whether it's a line you call, a message board or something. Oftentimes what I do my favorite thing to do is just go to Google or Reddit,
Yeah.
because it is wild. There was, uh, years ago, we were looking for a Shih Tzu. Like, we've now had this is many years ago, because 'cause we've now had her for 14 years. But, we were looking for a Shih Tzu, and we put an ad. We were trying to adopt and then, like, trying to rescue. We're going all different paths, and then we decided just to put an ad up on, maybe it was Craigslist or something, whatever it was at the time, that just said, like, if you're a breeder and you have a release, because oftentimes breeders they don't sell all of their dogs and then they just end up in a shelter. So we were kind of just trying all angles of like, how can we obviously get the breed that we want, but at the same time, like, help a dog that's in need. So we were trying every angle. Well, when I posted that, we got so many scams, like people that are like, "I have one and we'll ship them," and then it would end up being like, "Oh, the dog is stuck at the airport and it's gonna be $500 to get the dog out of the airport." And like, "What is this? Like, this can't be real." I mean, but what, like, and then I immediately went on Google or Reddit, and it was immediately like the dog scam, where they're like sending you the dog that you adopted, and it's now all of a sudden trapped at the airport. Now, I would say that immediately triggered to me. I'm a highly skeptical person anyway, so that immediately triggered to me like, this doesn't sound right. But beyond that, it was I was thinking, like, how many people probably do get scammed by that, because you're thinking about this poor little animal you just rescued or adopted, who's being flown to you and now is trapped at the airport. And they're using all of these things, like, and the airport, like, it's not like they have food to give them. And, like, unfortunately, like, we didn't know this would happen. And so they're using, or like the pet needs medication and they don't have the medication to get them. And I mean, that's awful. And I can imagine some people would be like, "Oh my gosh," like, immediately send the money, because
Yeah.
you're thinking
Whatever you
about
got
the
to do for that
poor
dog.
dog.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, I totally, my heart thinks that, but I just knew this sounded so scammy that I had to Google it. And it was, you know, point 0.2 seconds before it came up that this is a major scam people are running in like the adoption and rest world,
Well, I mean, how creative. I mean,
right?
too bad they're not using that creativity for good.
Ooh, man, can you? I just can't imagine like coming around, just sitting around and coming up with these things. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this will really get them. All the people that love animals.
I found some of my rental listings on random websites, or somebody sent it to me. So I think what they would do is they take rental listings and then, I don't know if they were just trying to get deposits for or application fees, or if they were actually trying to get deposits, or what level they were trying to get to. But uh yeah, it was pretty weird. Someone sent me a listing. I'm like, well, I didn't post it there. I have no idea what that is. And so you just never know. And that's even with rentals. People will be like, oh, I want the place right now. How do I send you the money? And I go, no, no, here's the deal. I'll show you the house, fill out an application. It's anytime there's that like urgency of now, 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 it always just like makes my spider sense go off. And I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
if this person wants this to happen so bad. So and I think having processes in place and just saying, no, this is how I do things, or this is when I pay my bills. This is when I send my money. This is how I do it. Yeah, I'll go and check that. I find that as soon as you start adding a little reason to the situation,
Mhm.
they move on to the next person, right? They want the low hanging fruit. They don't have time
Oh,
for a
sure.
skeptic.
No, no, because they're not gonna get anywhere with you,
Yeah.
so it's moving on. I have seen that apartment one or rental one as well. I think it's very prevalent in LA, so probably in some of the larger cities.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's like a real low-hanging fruit scam where all they're trying to collect is the application fees,
Yeah.
because in LA, right, you often will have, like, sometimes 100 or more people applying for the to rent the same house. So they'll just post it up and probably steal someone's listing, and then they're just like, "Oh, the application is $75." I think that's pretty common what they charge there. And then, think about if you have 100 people paying $75, right? You're gonna like, and then you're doing that consistently. There's a nice little flow for you,
Yeah. And
a
actually,
scammy
yeah.
flow.
We can have a
Mm,
whole nother discussion about application fees and that whole side of the world. I actually don't do application fees, but yeah.
which I
So
think is nice because it's like very expensive for people renting, but like
it can be a real income generator.
it can be. Well, you can see that, right? Absolutely. I think that's why a lot of people do it,
Yeah.
frankly.
So
But yeah, so many
that's a whole nother discussion.
whole other discussion. We'll save that for another episode. But the best thing to know for now is bringing a healthy dose of skepticism to these things. Just be aware, pay attention. Don't feel shame you if this has happened to you, there's like no shame. And or if it's almost happened to you again, no shame. It's really good to talk about it though, and like share your story with people in your life so that they know to avoid these things. And yeah, and I think, the more resources, more conversations we can have, the better, so that we're all aware of this. And the more resources that are being built to combat this, the better.
I like it. Just one episode at a time here, Melissa. We're just preparing people for the world.
Yes, it's kind of sad that we would have to have this
It
episode,
is.
but
Yeah.
this is the reality of things. And
Yeah, and holding on to that money is often just as important, if not more important than the earning piece. So
yes,
yeah, not necessarily not a super positive subject matter today, but I think a real important one. And there's more good people out there than bad people, and so if the good people are sharing information with each other and talking about this stuff, it's going to make it a lot harder for the people that are trying to scam.
yeah, absolutely. Well, with that said, if this episode was helpful for you, please rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. And we'll see you next time, probably with a much more positive and uplifting episode on Drip Trickle Flow Flood. Thanks, everyone.